This Remington 597 for a couple of years now. It's just been sitting in the gun safe. Hasn't been an accurate rifle. Best I've got with it is like 3-inch groups at 50 yards. Was not happy with it, so I knew the trigger was horrible. And finally got some time, started looking online, and an aftermarket hammer was like $45. And they advertised it to be like, I don't know, I think around 2 pounds. So I figured, what the heck, if the aftermarket's the same price as an OEM hammer, figured I'd take it apart and start filing it down. I have done a couple, and I've also messed up a couple. I probably got 4 or 5 in the safe behind me that I ground down too much. And I'm not going to say what happens when you grind it down too much, but you'll know when you know. So this is the hammer here. This is what you got to grind. Pull the trigger, pull it all the way forward here, and get the focus. That little lip right there is what you want to file down. And like I said, I didn't measure it before I started filing on it, but I would say it was between 5 to 7 pounds. It was a horrible trigger. So pull this top pin out here. That's to your hammer, and you got a couple bushings in there. Kind of a pain to get back together. But if you take a punch, put it all back together, take a punch, push it through, and then push the pin in, it's pretty easy. But I took this hammer out here, put it in a vise, and took a file and run the file over pretty light about 2 times. And then I took some 220 sandpaper just to polish it up. Put it all back together. I did that probably 4 or 5 times, and the trigger was still horrible. So I ended up taking a Dremel to it, which I would not advise. Pretty stupid on my part, but like I said, for an aftermarket trigger is the same price as the OEM trigger. So I knew if I messed it up, I'd spend $45 and go get a better trigger. So I took this Dremel to it and ran it across that lip real light, just one time. And then I would take this little wire wheel to it, and then I would take some 220 sandpaper and polish it up a little bit, put it all back together, and try it. And after about 7 or 8 times of that, I finally got it to where I wanted it. So I will put it back together here and show you what I got it down to. And also, I had it apart. I took the Dremel with a little metal bit on it and ground out all these ribs in between here, and then ground off a little bit of the top here on the stock so it wasn't touching the barrel, make it free floating a little more accurate. I would not advise taking a Dremel to it. Like I said, I was just sick and tired of taking it back apart because it's kind of a pain in the butt with those 2 bushings in there and whatnot. But I got lucky. I figured I would be buying a new hammer. I'd advise just taking a file to it, run it across a couple times, put it all back together, and see what you got. I got it down pretty light, and I got my groups from, I was so pissed off at the rifle, I put it in the gun safe and just left it. Like I said, I probably had 10 rounds through it and left it in the gun safe. And I got it down to 10 rounds and the size of a quarter at 50 yards. So I was happy with it. Gun's empty. So that's about 1 pound, 16 ounces. There. That's a heck of a lot better than, I don't know, it had to be over 5 pounds, I would say. So hopefully this helps you guys out.